All right. Good morning. Hello, and welcome everybody back to the Game Dev Show. I'm here with Andrew Powell and Yorai today, and we're going to be discussing a couple of pretty exciting things. We've got Game Dev Guild coming up next week on Monday. We've got a game that Yorai has been waiting to share for quite a while. Andrew's got some really cool new really good deals that just popped up, and Powell's got a new fire set. But I also want to talk about, so as a fire set, I looked at the lava and said fire. It's lava. It's a badass, awesome lava kit that's about to come out. And if you've seen any of the Nature Manufacture stuff, you know what it looks like. It looks awesome. It looks like the background there. I need a background like that, a nice hot lava background next. It'd be like my next backdrop. So welcome everybody. If you're here with us, please say hi in chat, hit the thumbs up button. And I was trying to do a giveaway today out on this board here, but I don't think we're gonna have time to get that going because I got to do a semi-short show. I got the Pantheon team showing up in a little bit to come by the office, and it should be a fun time. Anyway, welcome everybody. I'm gonna shut up and stop talking because I'm starting to run out of breath.
Hi. Well. Hi there. So yeah, there's quite a lot of things to go over today. I'm actually really sad because I wasn't in the previous two shows and they were a ton of fun. And I also didn't get to talk about, can we start with that?
Yes.
Yeah. So hi, everybody. There has been a game from one of my friends that's going on Kickstarter right now called Genokids, and I have been wanting to talk about that for quite a while because it's a really cool game, and there's also a lot of game development topics that are worth bringing up about it. So if we could show that to people first, yeah. So this is Genokids by one of my friends and also the team. And this is a tag character action game similar to Devil May Cry and Kingdom Hearts. For those who have not played them, it's a free action game where you can click buttons for different attacks, and you can also have mid-air combos, ground combos, characters swapping mid-combo, and then each character has their own like special traits to do things more effectively. It has a lot going for it, and generally speaking, I love these kinds of games because they're like the pinnacle of gameplay for me. They're also the most complicated to make, especially in Unity, which is why I wanted to talk about that. So first off, I just wanted to say congratulations because they managed to get to their goal within one day, which is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that they blew right to that goal like almost instantly. I can see why though. I mean, the trailer is enough to make you want to back it.
Yeah. And so I guess we can just get to the game development portions right off the bat. So first, I'd like to bring up the character tag action. A lot of people don't realize there's like a ton of complexity involved in this, specifically because you have to make sure that the characters don't collide with one another and push each other like off the map as you bring them in and out of the field.
And so on the tag action, you're talking about the swapping, like the tag team swapping in the new character for the old one.
Yeah. So generally speaking, when you have a single character, they usually have like their own combo or whatever. And most games that would have you swap characters would just like literally remove one character from the field and put the other one in their place in the exact same spot on the map. But when you do that, it kind of like ruins a bit of the immersion because your character like has the ability to disappear, and it's way cooler when you could have concurrent action. So like one character is mid-move and the other character is like still on the field somewhere, but they can't like overlap each other because that's like not looking natural. So you want to find a spot that's like near the character on the field, but it's not colliding with the enemy, it's not colliding with the wall, and it has like its own place. And then there's like also the idea of animation canceling that happens with that, because like your input stops being propagated to one character, it needs to be propagated to another character. A lot of people I've seen developing their games follow like Unity tutorials or very starter like YouTube just code the input into the character updates. But that doesn't let you ever disable those inputs in a natural way. So having like a proper player input that like sends messages to each character separately, and like you can control which ones get the input, is something that I think is like a very nice advanced topic that I see a lot of people not bothering to implement, but it can open up so many possibilities. Like, for example, if you want to start controlling, say, a bumper car or a giant robot or whatever, you don't have to swap your character. You can just like let the input start propagating to a different character on the map, and like let your character stand or do whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
just there's a lot of fun to be had about that.
This is oh sorry, I wanted to just call out the switching part real quick because talked about that a little bit and how they do the actual like finding the position side by side and then bouncing the other character out. I think there's a spot in here where it's about to do that again. It did it right at the beginning, and then yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
so the
Berserker.
video is really laggy on my end viewing this, but I hope it's better for people on the stream.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not laggy at all for me, but there's some
Yeah.
spots where you can see like yeah, right there where it does the character kind of swapping out. Can you explain just a little bit more, like loosely, how that works? How you so you got a character in there, you're controlling them and fighting, and then that guy you hit whatever hotkey and it swaps out, and
Yeah.
this other character comes in. Like, what's the actual kind of like the behind the scenes or technical part of how you would put that together?
Yeah, so usually speaking, you want to find a spot that's available. Now, what is available? Usually, you need to fit like the character size, and you need to figure out a location that is the best visual one. So usually, it would just be like a fixed offset, like say on my left,
Mm-hmm.
the character should appear, and then you would usually just like set the position and let the character animate in, like say teleporting in or jumping off the screen into the screen, and then immediately transfer like whatever input is going on to that character, and make sure your character remembers to like, I am not being controlled right now, I need to leave the field as soon as I can. So if they're in the middle of an attack, they're going to continue the attack and then leave, and if they're like not doing anything, then they're just going to leave immediately. But if that location is not available, say there is a wall, and you haven't made any checks, you're just going to appear through the wall. And
Yes.
that's, first off, that could be an exploit, but worse, it could be a game breaking bug. Like maybe if you fall through the wall into the oblivion below and you don't have anything to teleport the player back up, you don't even want to get to that scenario in the first place. So, how do you avoid those things? Unity has a bunch of collision methods that are used mainly for detecting if bullets hit certain targets, but you can use that for characters as well. For example, there is a capsule cast. So if your character is a capsule collider, you can just cast that capsule in a certain direction, and then if there is a wall, you know how much you can move until you hit that wall, and then you can say, "Oh, it's actually pretty close to me. I guess that's fine." Or if it's too close, I can try and change the direction. So instead of my left, it's going to appear on my right. Is there going to be a big difference? Probably not. And then there is another situation where if you can't do it on the right as well, which you probably don't want to reach that situation, you can get into a lot more advanced solutions, like remembering the last proper spot the character you have played walked through that could be teleported into. Like breadcrumbs as you move around, and then you like detect if any of those spots have a good spot near them, or you can just replace where your character is. But again, we reach the overlap issue, but that's like only going to happen on corners, etc. Um, there is a lot you can do that, but it's ultimately up to you to decide. The one thing that gets very annoying is that if you use the Unity general capsule cast, capsule overlap, etc., they don't prevent you from detecting your own character. So you have to like filter out whether your character is there. Or you can just let the Unity collisions resolve everything and pray that nothing bad happens. Which,
Probably not the
if
best idea.
yeah, so I wouldn't say it's not the best idea, because if you do Unity collisions right, it's actually perfectly fine to do. Specifically in that if you use convex colliders a lot, and your convex colliders are not thin. So one thing that's not very well known is that for Unity to let things be pushed away from each other, you have to have two convex colliders, or at least one convex collider in play, because being convex means there is a center point to be pushed out of. If your convex is if your collider is non-convex, say it's a donut with a bite in it, so there's like a U shape, sorry, U shape, and you have something in here, you don't know if it needs to be pushed in or pushed out. Um, And that makes things very complicated, and Unity certainly doesn't do that for you. So this is like the number one cause I see for people having physics bugs, and their characters are like falling off their mountains or whatever, because the mountains are just not convex. And yeah. So if you have convex colliders, like say your floor is not a plane, but instead it's like a box collider, it's going to push your character up if you get pushed in, and that like lets you resolve things mostly properly automatically. So that's a nice one. On that note, the entire character controller here is actually a custom character controller. It's not using Unity's character controller class. It's not using rigid bodies. So that's something that I found very interesting, because that means they have full control over what they're doing, but also a lot of responsibility to resolve it. Have you ever made a custom character controller, Jason?
Yeah, just not recently. I haven't really needed to, but yes, it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot to get it going right. But it depends on the game. For some games, I built custom character controllers where I slapped them together in 2-3 hours, and it was more than enough to handle the actual game. But for something like this, I would imagine it's going to be a relatively long, taunting task.
Yeah, there is a lot to resolve when you're doing, especially like airborne combat, because that means you can't just do things in 2D. You have to like resolve everything, and you have to make sure that like you have all your collisions straight. So they are doing that, and they used like a combination of check capsule, capsule cast, and I think they also use compute penetration, which is like the best method in Unity physics, period. So for people not aware, you can actually say take any collider and cast it against any other collider, and see how they would penetrate each other, so you can like push your object out. And this is very good when you're trying to do like very precise computations for things that are not of standard shape. So for example, Unity doesn't have a cone cast or cone overlap type of math. Yeah. So what you can do is you can make your own cone mesh, and then you can like shove that into compute penetration and check against whatever you want, and that lets you do a lot of like very precise calculations. A lot of people tend to try and cheat with that, and they're like making raycasts that have like a certain amount of direction up to an angle limit to a character before you cast, but it has its own downsides. So I just wanted to bring it up. Compute penetration is an amazing method.
Yeah, that's one I think most people probably have no idea exists. So I just linked it in chat so everybody can go bookmark it and remember.
Yeah. Oh, on that note, not related to GenoKids, just a very fun thing. Recently, I found out that rigid bodies actually have ignore collisions boolean that you can actually toggle from scripts, and I never bothered because I never had to deal with ragdolls. But this is like amazing because you don't have to disable the component itself, and you can like disable every piece that you care about.
Yeah, I didn't know that was there either. So I just so that's on the rigid body.
Yeah, rigid body ignore collisions, I think it was. So if you have like say a ragdoll, you can just have all the ragdoll colliders set to like ignore collisions or like be kinematic, so they follow the animations without doing anything bad. And then when your character dies, you just enable collisions and everything again, and you disable the kinematic portion, and lo and behold, ragdoll. Yeah.
Is it on the rigid body as a property?
Yeah, there is a property. Was it a field? I think it was a field. Well, usually in Unity it's all properties, but yeah, it's a property of rigid body. Like it's instance, it's not a method. There is a method specifically to ignore collisions between two colliders. Not that. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, we'll find it and link it as soon as you do. Not a rush. Anyway,
Yeah.
that looks really cool. There's one question I wanted to ask before I forget about GenoKids and how they put stuff together. I'm curious if you know the answer and kind of how it works, because it's same thing in a lot of games with the combo system with freezing. Sorry,
yeah,
so the
no, you're fine.
combo stuff. How does that all kind of work and get coded? Can you just kind of explain that, like at an architectural level?
Yeah. So first off, you can do combo systems in Unity animator controllers. That's just a matter of like having your animations tightly strung together. You click a button, there is an animation transition, you move to the next animation, you have combos, lo and behold. But there is a lot of nuance to when do you move to the next move, because if you can just spam and cancel your own moves to move to next moves, it kind of feels wrong. You pressed too early and now you missed your own attack. Like, why? So games like to guarantee that you at least like reach your hit frame, which is its own bundle of fun to figure out how to do. But in the case of Genokids, they actually made their own animator state machine from scratch. They added a ton of features on it. It was like super fun to see that. They have like state transition teleporters. So if you have like a giant state machine and you want to teleport like one thing instead of like having a rope that leads to like something off screen, there's just a teleporter and it takes you immediately to the other side. And if you like need it in multiple places, you have that in their own solution. So yeah, it was very fun. In regards to how you actually do combos, I'd like to talk about like something that's more actionable to every developer. Unity's animation system actually has transitions that you can set like with triggers. So once you click and the transition happens, like you set a boolean, and once the transition happens, it wipes the boolean for you. So that's one solution you can use. You can just set triggers at certain points, and you can like ignore setting the trigger while the animation is too early. So you have like a portion that says, hey, don't listen to any new moves now because like it's too early. We're just processing the character animation transition right now. And then after that portion happens, you can like enable the trigger, and then once the trigger is used, you basically move to the new move if you meet its own conditions. For example, you can lock certain moves if they've not been unlocked, or you can just not set the trigger. There are also games that have like one of the Genokids inspiration is Devil May Cry, and Devil May Cry has combos where like if you press your attack button near the end of the move instead of at the start, you do a certain different attack. So you can also do that kind of thing. It mostly relies on animator state transitions, but it's fairly doable. It's not something that's difficult.
Except they built their own state machine to do it to make it easy.
So they wanted to do a lot in a way that's very easy to work together. And one thing that I would say the Unity mechanism or the animation state machine is terrible at is giving you the ability to like do complex things, because it doesn't let you interact with anything. Animation controllers are assets, and that means they can't reference anything in a scene. And they don't also give you behaviors to do that. They let you make state machine behaviors, but they don't do anything for you about them, and almost nobody knows how to use that. So it's very difficult to say spawn a fireball when I am in this portion of my animation in this state. A lot of people would say use animation events. Animation events are difficult to work with. For those who don't know, in Unity, if you have an animation file, there is actually in the animation timeline a portion you can add events to. The events are typed by string, and you can pass very basic parameters to that or scriptable objects. And then if your game object that has the animator component has a method of the same string name, that method will be called, which is great for like the simplest of things. But it's not very extendable. So, for example, you have to go not to the animation controller, but to the actual animation clip every time you want to change anything. And if you want to, say, not have that event happen on a certain state, you're just using it to like show how the animation plays, you are out of luck. So there is an actual boolean on the animator component that says ignore animation events, but it ignores everything. You can just ignore one. Something that's smarter to do, and what Unity would actually encourage you to do in most cases, is using state machine behaviors, which let you add actual behaviors like mono behaviors to the animation states themselves. And that's actually a scriptable object inside your animator controller scriptable object, but it's instanced per character. So it has its own unique information. And that has events like on enter state, on state exit, on state update, on state move, and on state IK. So good stuff. You can like literally do any custom behavior that you need for that particular state within the state itself, which is very easy to see, because if you click on like attack 1, attack 2, and attack 3, you see exactly the information that's relevant to attack 1, attack 2, and attack 3, not through the project browser animations, but through the character itself.
Yeah, well, and you also get reference to the object that it's running on, which I think some people don't. It's the way that you can actually get in there and like you get that callback, and what's passed in is the actual animator that's doing the thing. So you can reference that character or whatever and do what you need right there. They're really fucking powerful. It's something that your eyes, I think, talked about and shared a lot, and I think people undervalue, and even I've seen a lot of random pushback even against using them, which I think is interesting.
Yeah,
I think they're
haven't seen
wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I've seen some people abuse that more than just use it. There was this one Unity Learn tutorial where they used that for character AI, and I'm like, you're using an animation state machine for something that doesn't animate. Um, but other than that, I think it's fine. Like, it is a state machine in the end of the day. Also, for the people asking if I have looked into Playables API, yes, Playables are amazing. The animation rigging package uses Playables. It's fun. It's incompatible with like 99% of assets. So the Unity animator actually behind under the hood uses the Playables API. The Playables API is like the new way to animate in Unity, and you can actually do a lot more in it because it gives you the actual animation streams, and you can like direct them to anything, and you can like layer things way more tightly because you're not relying on the update loop. You're relying on the animation evaluation loop. So every time the animation evaluates, all your content for that evaluation graph runs, and you can like ensure it always reaches proper state instead of like once per frame on late update when it's too late and your sword can follow your hand, etc., etc. But most assets don't use that. They use late update or update after the animator runs, and that completely screws you, and it's really difficult to convert an asset that uses late update to using the animation streams for Playables API. But once that happens and that becomes the norm, I'll be a very happy developer. Yeah, I just wanted to say, Kids is amazing.
Yeah. So, we got there's a lot of stuff to talk about. I want to share the link for Geno Kids again. I got to find that. I need to add a link so I can just hit the button and make it pop up. So let me think. There were a couple other things. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything super important. But I was kind of curious, Andrew. How do you were mentioning earlier? You're working on all these characters and you're dealing with animations as well, and something that sounded somewhat similar, not exactly the same thing, but an issue that sounded a little bit relatable. And I think Yorai mentioned wanting to talk about it. So maybe we can talk that through and see what the problem is, what the general idea is, and maybe come up with some architectural ideas.
My biggest woes at the moment are dealing between flying and ground animations, and I have not been able to find a best practice for this. I know we've got flying characters in the past that work perfectly fine. But I've got a new one. We've got shit tons of animations, and we actually have states from flying to ground to crawling. So this character also crawls, and we need to transition between them. We've got transition animations between all the different states, but for some reason, the root height working properly has been boggling my brain.
So here's the first question. When you switch between those animations, say you just have an animator controller, you put the states in and you just transition between them, does your character like teleport up and down depending on if it's flying or not?
Yes, sometimes it does because the root position is changing.
Yeah, so the Unity animation importer, or either the FBX importer for your file of the animation, lets you choose the root game object. And based on that, it knows how the root motion actually works. And if you bake the root motion in, that's where the root will be. But if you set the root bone and you don't bake, it will like move you down to the actual spot. You can still access this information. And like if you enable root motion on the animator component, it will use that to move you up and down, which is still not something that you probably want. In your specific case, but if you don't bake it and you don't use root motion, it's just going to stick in one spot consistently, properly, which is probably what you wanted.
We'll have to try that bake toggle then.
Yeah. Well, you probably want it unticked if it is ticked. Show me the animation later, just for fun. that's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is you can just bake the animation so that the root is actually in the proper place, which is probably harder on your animator because now they have to think about that. Or in the actual export from the animation software, there usually is an option to decide what the root is, and then you can have it like without all this mess properly. Probably,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, I'll have to share it with you. It's an interesting character. It's humanoid, but with weird proportions.
Is it one
long legs.
you're announcing yet and telling people what it is, or is it still a top secret?
Oh, nothing's ever really that top secret. I've been talking about it for a while now on the Discord. It's the Banshee character that I've been talking about, and I don't have an image online. That I know of, but it's a very cool character, scary horror character, and she's got long arms, long fingers, and she can fly and float, and she can crawl, and she can attack and do other things like that. It's very exciting. Lots of animations. We're trying to do more animations now per character than ever before. Dynamic gain hit, where you get hit from any side and it reacts nicely. So that
are you using the additive system for that?
No, just blending between 4 directions. We got 4 animations.
No, I'm asking if the animation itself is an additive animation in the importer settings.
I don't believe so.
Okay, so that is another thing to look at because it's very fun.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that. Maybe we should do a live stream where we deep dive into animations.
Yeah. So for the record, when you have animations in Unity and you import them from an FBX file, in the animation importer settings, the animation actually has a boolean for is it an additive animation, and if it is an additive animation, it actually computes the actual rotation curves based on the base animation that you set. So if that animation changes and you have an additive animation on top of it, it will like do things nicely additively. So you can have like, does the character have their arm up or to the side and they're running, that arm can still move to the side properly without all the masks and stuff.
I see.
Which is very, very nice. So it's like more compatible for saying getting hit while moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have the most advanced animations, Andrew.
I mean, if you want reactive characters.
No, I think it's good. You can learn about all this stuff before everybody else and start adding them in.
Yeah, so I have like a fixation on reactive characters, like characters that actually respond properly to every situation and they don't have like weird jank where they teleport their animation because like they got hit, suddenly the leg is in an entirely different position, etc. So it's very fun to figure out like how to do that. And to my surprise, when I entered this, I had zero faith in Unity's animation system. And after I like checked everything, and I do mean everything, including source code for the packages that try to work with the Unity animations, specifically timeline and the animation rigging package, I'm like, I have way more confidence in this. Sadly, there are still some things that are internal and not accessible to me, and I'm like wanting to shake the Unity developers to give me some access to that. But yeah, you can do a lot to have very nicely reacting characters, which is very important for action games. Please make characters reactive, everybody.
You don't want them to just kind of flash and then disappear?
Flash and disappear is actually fine because that's a form of a reaction.
At least a reaction.
Yeah, the thing that frustrates me the most is a character that like takes freaking forever to finish an animation first when I already clicked the button like attack already.
the speed of the snappiness, it matters a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
and then there's like the animation teleporter, which you don't need because crossfading exists and like you can do it smoothly. Yeah.
So there's a question for Paul I want to take, but first, since I've got your image up, Andrew, you do have 2 bundles on sale, right? You know, just tell everybody what's in the bundle 7 and 8 that I just popped up and flashed for everybody.
Absolutely. So 7's got the mummy and sarcophagus, and the skeleton and the harlequin, and what's the one in the top right? I'm forgetting. I can barely see.
It's a little bit blurry on my image. I should have saved higher resolution images.
I should just remember what my packages have in it. And then the number 8. So both of these are 50% off right now on the weekend deals on the Asset Store. And so that's just a great deal. There's 4 characters in each one. I personally, if I were going to say buy one of the two, I would say buy number 8 because it's got the chests and mimics.
I was going to say the mimic's my favorite,
which is one of my favorites. And I apologize, there's a garbage truck outside, so extra noise
Can't
for
hear
the
it.
fun.
Yeah, those chests are the best because you can use them as treasure in a regular game, and then you can just like you have to resist the urge to turn them into monsters when you do that.
Don't worry, most characters aren't reactive, so if you open the mimic, it's going to get a guaranteed hit.
It also has gold and gems, so you can have loot, and everything is customizable. And we use a blend ships, and the mimics and chests is really one of my favorite packs because the gold and the loot also have blend shapes, so you can control whether it's really high piled, whether it's a flat pile. You can like have the gems coming out of the gold. There's just a lot you can do with it. So it's my favorite, but both of them there's a weekend deals right now in the asset store, and both of them are magically in that. I just found out 2 days ago that they'd be in that, so I was very excited, and I forgot about it until this morning. Yeah, so good deal.
Gotta grab it. It's only for the weekend.
It's only for the weekend. Yeah, it's like 3 days, I think, because the weekend, global world we live in. But so 3 days essentially. And then there's a new release discount for some ground materials, desert ground materials I put up, and curious to see what folks feel about that because this is a new thing for me doing terrain materials. But I'm got another package that I've been working on for terrain materials, and so I'm definitely curious to see if folks are interested in this stuff that we're producing. So there's that one as well. And that's in a new release discount, so it's 50% off as well. So that's all my shilling for the week.
We'll link that one. I'll drop that in the chat as well. But Pal, do you think anybody cares about terrain stuff? 30 in chat. There's literally a question about when you're releasing the new lava environment. So I think it's probably a perfect time to jump over to that. Let me put that on loop and share it real quick so everybody can see exactly what they're talking about. So this is the new lava preview, or do you want to tell them when it's coming out first, or do you want to make them watch the preview and talk about it?
The lava is coming out in 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, we are now testing we had HDRP ready. We are now testing URP and standard version on Unity versions. We will be releasing the lava pack. This is a preview of the new video we will be releasing together with the pack, so you can see what's coming up with it.
There is something I wanted to ask that I forgot to ask last time, but do you actually have anything that lets all the lava lights propagate like in caves to the ceilings, etc., or are we using Unity standard lights, or is there like any special renderer effect going on there?
No, we try to use Unity standard assets and standard renderers for lighting because as assets it's more problematic if you use additional settings.
Yeah, okay.
But you can achieve.
It looks amazing.
You can see what you can achieve with just standard Unity rendering. This is
if you have all your assets
HDRP.
right. Yeah, if you have all your assets right, like this is a very good example. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have assets or you have enough good knowledge.
There we go. The link to the asset store. I had to fix my link in there.
I want to have characters like snowboarding on the lava, but like lava boarding, whatever you call it. Yeah.
Lava boarding.
Like you literally have a very perfect stream of lava that has like enough space where you can like dodge obstacles from like a dragon trying to fire breath at you or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of additional things we added. For example, I think it was that they showed the dynamic lava. So we have added that lava flows, and it can even make everything around it hotter. So it changes the vertex colors and paints the vertex colors of surrounding elements that have material set up for the lava effects.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it just looks fucking awesome. And my kid just got a index too, so now I want to try flying around on here with the index. I don't know. Have you done that before? Gone through these lava environments with the VR headset? Yeah,
of course.
It's so freaking cool. It looks awesome. Like I made the first time I did it, I was like inspired to make a little jetpacking game where you flew through the lava environment, trying not to touch the lava and landing on the couple safe spots. It was a lot of fun, but I was the only one that really liked it, so I didn't finish building it. But I had fun with it because like you held like little thrusters and flew around and like had to find like the little spots that were safe to land on before you ran out of fuel and had to reload and stuff. I never turned it into a full game. It was just like a weekend and a half, but it just looks super freaking cool in that environment. But this one, it looks even better. So
Now I have to ask, just out of curiosity, but do you actually use VR to check if like everything is the right size?
No, we are using VR to test if it works in VR, yeah, because not all shaders work in the VR and so on. So we always have to check. And if we are having a booth on some conference, is the best way to showcase our assets, yeah. Showcasing them in VR is a lot better than showcasing them just on tablet or monitor.
That's fair. Like you could see it's the real thing, and it's like really well done with all the nice little details.
Yeah, for example, you can generate a lake of lava in a few seconds.
Yeah, also that additive terrain offering from a bit earlier in the video, that's like something unique to this asset, right? Or
yeah, we are because we moved from our old terrain editors to Unity new terrain tool systems, so we are using them in background.
nice. So on that note, something slightly unrelated, but still kind of. If you've ever tried to do like glowing over a large field, there is difficulty in that because you either have to add like a very big light or a bunch of small lights, or having like a glowing material and praying that the the light baking system will let the light propagate to the right spots. But recently I found out something pretty interesting, which is invisible emissive cubes can be used into a render texture, and then you can render that render texture as an additive effect, which is very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started asking, and apparently in GenoKids they actually do that with light cards, which is like literal squares. They like sample them in a really small resolution and then like blur them and raise them to the size of the thing, and that's how they have like a glowing town, and like places that feel warm because there's like a fire on a bus or something are very bright in the right color. It was really interesting to see, and I'm trying to like figure out where I can abuse this to do like more interesting things, because I figured out like if you can do that for light emission, you can also do that for, say, painting grass in a certain way. So if you like go into an area, grass can start looking like different colors, or you can have like special glowing effects that make the grass bigger or smaller. This is basically standard render textures sampled by other things, so they can change how they look, but using actual shapes to render into a render texture instead of like only planes was very interesting to me because it's more volumetric.
Yeah, I think the lava just looks fucking awesome though. I'm excited for it to come out. Actually, I'm kind of inspired. I wanted to go steal my kid's headset now and fly around in the new version. Make another little
have
game.
your own.
Give me a good reason and excuse to go steal his headset for a day and do something.
And there is more to come, yeah? You remember on one of the earlier shows I showcased the castle and the dungeons with lava around them. Yeah, that's a pack that will be using the lava in it, and it will be additional pack to this one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now
we
he's
had
gonna be
to,
sad when I
because
steal it.
we first wanted them to release as one pack, but as Asset Store has a requirement for the pack sizes, and these two packs are quite big. Yeah, the second pack, if they will release them together, it would be more than 10 gigabytes of assets. So we had to split them, and we will be fits the lava asset, and then the second one will be castle with dungeons and lava flowing through them.
That's gonna be I want the castle done, and I want the dungeon specifically with the lava flowing through that. That's gonna be perfect. So you said a couple weeks for the release still?
The lava in 2 to 3 weeks, yeah.
2 to 3 weeks.
Each week we are going closer.
Oh well, I'm sure we'll talk about it a lot when it comes out too. But make sure you go. I put links down in the description. Let me hit that button one more time. everybody go check it out. Go get ready for go grab some of the other packs and be ready for when that one pops up. I did want to quickly pop up the little promo thing for the conference because it's coming up on Monday, and really briefly talk about some of the sessions. I figured since I'm super thirsty, now might be a good time to hit the little button for the conference, let everybody see the kind of overview, and then talk a little bit about it. And if anybody has questions, they can ask them afterwards. So. Guild Conference is right around the corner, starting on May 1st. It's a 5-day conference that offers everything an in-person conference does. We have dozens of sessions on a variety of actionable topics you can use in your own projects. Many of the Game Dev Show experts will be there, along with tons of other speakers like John Riccatello, the CEO of Unity, Rick from GameDev TV, Thomas Brush, Turbo Makes Games, Chris Lucian, Jabrils, and many more. We also have a full virtual expo hall for you to connect with and network with all the other attendees, speakers, and sponsors. In addition to our Pro Pass, which includes over $2,000 of free bonuses, and our Student Pass, which gives you access to all of the sessions, we've just announced a completely free 1-day pass, which gives you access to all of the sessions on the first day. So go check it out, grab your free pass, and join us on May 1st by clicking the link in the description. All right, so that hopefully gives everybody kind of a rough idea of what the conference is about. But I wanted to, I wanted to scroll down really quickly. Oh, actually, first, before I do that, I did want to mention that while the conference opens up on Monday and kicks off Monday with the first sessions, we're going to open the conference hall on Sunday morning. We're going to be doing a live stream for the Ukraine Game Jam. Looks like James right there. Hey. So we're going to be doing a live stream. That should already be posted. You should be able to see it. I'll put the link in the description as well, though. And then open up the conference hall right afterwards for people to start networking, run around, check things out. We've got an updated layout, lots of new stuff appearing in there, and it should be a lot of fun. So I wanted to, talk about that, mention that that's coming a day earlier than the conference, and then just really quickly talk about some of the sessions. I don't know if you guys have seen all of the sessions. There's all the bonus stuff, but there's quite a few that I was kind of excited about. I was just curious if there are any that you all are excited about or think are going to be more interesting than others. Like I'm personally, I really want to see what Dan's going to do with this architecture one. If you haven't seen Dan's stuff before, he does lots of really cool shit and wrote some Unity books and writing another one. And I'm really curious to see what the architectural recommendations are going to be in there. It's one of the few that really stands out for me. That, and there are a couple AI ones, and I really, with the last month or so, I've been very heavy into seeing what people are going to do with AI and game development. So there's kind of there's a lot that's coming over the 5 days, but those are the ones that I'm really kind of curious and have no idea where they're going to go and what the info is going to be. And there's one other that I think for anybody who's looking to get into jobs, we don't have a lot of career focused ones, but Rick is doing a talk on finding jobs also taking advantage of some of the AI stuff too. But the last year he did a session on finding jobs and actually getting out into the industry and kind of putting yourself out there, and the perfect process for doing it. It was, I think, one of the best recorded sessions I've ever seen on this kind of advice. It's probably the best one I've seen on this advice on how to actually get out there and find a job and do it right. And it's all of the things that I would recommend, but in a way better format than I could present today. He's spend a long time doing this kind of training and teaching people this stuff, and it's really, really good. So I'm curious to see what the new advice and takes are. And I think anybody that's looking to get into the industry, looking to get a job, just watch that one at least. All you need is a student pass for that. Just go watch it. Anyway, anybody else? Was there anything that you all are interested in or curious about that stands out as a I don't know, interesting topic or something that you want to learn about?
Well, Jason has been teasing me with his talk for the past 2 weeks and in this Discord server, and I'm like, just show it to me already. He's been sharing a few of the files for the actual project he's doing there. It's super fascinating. This is like, I need 7 hours of this. So yeah.
Yes, that's another one that I think is going to be really really interesting. I just forgot about it now. I've talked to him about it a couple times. I keep forgetting that one's coming up, and it's on Star Wars Day too, so it's gonna be perfect for my background. I got to grab my lightsaber while I watch it and just sit there with him.
Yeah, so there were some multiple talks about multiplayer, which I've been like kind of interested in. I know how to do multiplayer, but I want to see if anybody has a better approach than my current findings, because I'm not keeping up to date on this, frankly, and I think like any up to date resource from the amazing people here will be like good stuff to upgrade my own understanding with. Specifically because in Unity, game objects are a menace to synchronize properly. If any of these talks also addresses the ECS portion, I'd love that, but I doubt it. I haven't seen one, at least.
Yeah, I don't think there's one on netcode for entities yet. I'm sure we'll have one for next year's conference, but I don't think we've got anything on that specifically.
Yeah, but in general, there's like a ton of very interesting talks, multiple ones about animations, which I'm going to like see and compare my own understanding with. There's some that have talking about AI and like not just getting a job, but there was a different one. I'm trying to find it now.
There are like 5 talks on AI. Jabril's got an AI talk. There's one on the first day, one on the third day. There's a ton of AI stuff. Making modular AI with. Actually, there's 2 in a row on day 3.
I'm trying to remember which one.
I think that starts to be a problem. This turning the AI like ChatGPT and AI in games, because I think the same is an asset store. Yeah, we are starting to have problems. Which AI are we talking about now?
Yes, that's very true. It reminds me of there's an asset pack I've been using for the last few days. That's another AI one that's totally unrelated. It's around behavior trees. I was gonna do a video on it sometime soon, but it's look at it. Cannot tell the difference. Most of these these are going to be a mix on the AI talk. Some are LLM stuff and some are behavior. I think there's one on that was specifically with behavior trees. Go ahead.
I just want to say you also can forget John Riccitello's appearance, which I will be very attentive to.
Yes, that's going to be a fun one. So that's on day 2. I've got a set of questions I'm going to ask, and maybe there'll be extra time for more questions. But he always has really interesting stories too, and explanations, and probably knows the most about what's going to happen and what's going on in the future. I mean, he at least has the most control over
exactly
what's going to happen. So if you want to ask questions in the chat and stuff while he's there, maybe
it's live, right?
Yeah. Wow. It's live. I've got my questions already kind of ready to go, though. And then I don't know if we'll have time. I assume maybe we'll have some time for other questions too. I'll have somebody from Unity there to check the questions and make sure that they're okay to ask, though. So don't plan on coming with anything ridiculous.
Slightly related, but I've actually been to my first Unity webinar not long ago. Like those that you get like invited to and you can like see real time and ask questions. It was eye-opening really to see how they're working. For the specific thing that I've been invited to, it was related to the Unity source code, understanding how to work with it. And I just wanted to say, like, it's fun to see that they're actually doing those live sessions now where you can actually talk to the developers on the interesting topics real time, because the actual loop around when you're not on Unity Enterprise for more advanced topics is it's not short. So thanks Unity for starting that. Yeah,
those things are awesome. I've been to a bunch of them, and usually they're really good at like getting back to you with questions afterwards too. So you can ask stuff while you're there, but afterwards you can kind of reach out, and usually they're pretty good. They want feedback on the stuff that they're actually spending the time doing, and then you can get some really cool shit. There was a really good multiplayer series. I think it was last month that it ended, 4-part one, but they also put up the recordings too, so you can go back and watch them.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking out for more if I ever get them.
oh yeah, I think you just have to get. There's a list. If you, I think once you join one, you get onto the list where you start getting the invites to all of the other ones. Because I get them like all the time now. It's like almost one a week, I think. You'll probably start getting them too. So you had a couple other topics to talk about too. You all right? Before I go to them, I just tell everybody, if you don't have your Game Dev Guild pass, there is a free pass available too. I'm gonna drop a link. I'll just type out the link in chat. It's gamedevguild.com/1-day pass. There you go. If student pass is not an option, there's still the free pass first day. There's still lots of cool stuff, including some of those AI talks. So yeah, Yorai, you had a couple other really cool things to talk about. Let's pop those up.
Yeah, so first off, it should probably be mentioned. The Unity Enemies project is finally up on the Unity Asset Store, and they've started advertising it with the banner at the top recently. So I just wanted to highlight that for anybody who's interested. Apparently, it's been up for quite a while now, but for some reason they started advertising it now, and I didn't even know. So yay, finally I can look into it. This is the same project that they trailered, and they have a YouTube video of the actual cinematic. It's very high quality. It's HDRP only. Interestingly, the version that they ask you to use with it, if you scroll down to the render pipeline compatibility, it's 2023.1, which is in beta right now. So I found that pretty interesting. But yeah, I just want to look into how they're doing all their light stuff, even though I assume it's the adaptive probe volumes with probably some degree of like keeping those, how do you call it, and blending between them. I'm assuming they have something more sophisticated going on, but this is like my first assumption, and I want to see if it's actually that or if they're doing something more fun. The shading is also amazing. So yeah.
I want to grab this. I didn't realize it was out either. So this will be cool. See how it runs and how it's all set up. It's been, they announced it was been like a year or two since it was shut off.
It's been a while. Wasn't Enemies around the same time as Gigaya?
I think so. It's right around then.
Yeah.
Before we go on, I wanted to pop this question up that was for Pal that I missed. So on the lava set, does this include the RAM 2023? What can you explain the situation here with the lava and river? It's river auto material, right? The correct
because both lava environment and the river auto material uses the same API. So the new lava is coming out now. Then we most likely will be releasing the castle and the dungeons, and then most probably RAM 2023, and then one asset that will be accompanying the RAM 2023. So the same thing with lava. We also did too many assets, and we had to split the RAM to two parts. But there will be quite new technologies coming with the RAM that will be then ported back to lava.
Yeah, I should pull up. Let's see how to find it. Anybody who hasn't seen it, that's the. There it is.
Yeah,
it's the water version of this. So if you want the same kind of badass awesomeness, but you don't want it burning and you want water instead, the river auto material, this is the way to go. And this is another one of the ones that I've used since I started with Unity. It's weird because I feel like when I started using Unity, I just randomly was using your shit long before I met you, just randomly using yours and Andrew's. Like I think the dragon is like one of the first packs that I ever bought. It's definitely crazy. Now I just talk to you guys every week. Anyway, back to enemies.
So I don't have much to say here, but there are a lot of technologies that they, at the time, they said would be pretty new and like good for high quality presentation. as the enemy's project looks. And I want to see how they actually used everything. I've heard that it's a bit buggy, but I want to see it for myself and discern whether whether it has anything worthy of bringing into actual game development, or is it just for cinematics. Because they have said that it's like in runtime, so it should be for like very high quality games. But what if I want something smaller, or if I'm a single developer, how can I utilize this? So that's going to be a very interesting consideration. There
Well, it
is
depends too if that runtime is only on like 4090s, like it's
I don't think the
runtime,
4090s were out at the time.
yeah, or only on 3090s or whatever, like.
And there is this other topic I wanted to bring up, which is from the Unity blog post, and I'm trying to find a related blog post as well from them that would be very nice to give with this one. If you can move to that. Yeah. So Unity has a blog, and on that blog, they sometimes have articles that are very useful for game developers who actually want to get things done. A lot of the times, it would be like Unity services if you don't know how to do a certain thing, so they can do it for you, and it's very automated, and it's good for time saving, especially if you're prototyping and you don't want to deal with the part that's not building a game. But in this one, it's actually about how to actually build a game with less pain, which is something that's not often talked about. So there is, I recommend reading this entire article, which is the rapid design iteration in Breachers using Asset Post Processor and Blender in full, because it's a goldmine. But let's just go through the topics addressed here. You have levels in your game, usually, and most people don't want to offer levels in a way that destroys their own work. So they like make prefabs, and if they change one prefab in one place, it changes everywhere, right? But those have performance concerns. So, for example, every time you have a prefab of a small section of a room, and then you put two sections of the room one by one, there is actually the seam between those, and that seam wastes your performance. It also means that like colliders can be a bit more janky, and there's a lot of stuff that are just like not very visible to the artist once it's exported. So if you have an artist working on an actual dedicated 3D authoring tool like Blender, Maya, 3ds Max, whatever, and you bring their asset into Unity, if they change the name of any asset, if they change the size of any asset, if they did anything at all that would be different from the specs of the asset before, it's going to introduce potential breaking changes, like the walls clipping for each other, and now you have that weird Z-clip that nobody likes seeing. Or if you have the asset name changed and suddenly your reference isn't like being updated properly anymore, and so on and so forth. So why not just use what the artist brings one-to-one in Unity? The reason usually is you don't have their components on it. You don't have like the colliders. You don't have the sound players. You don't have anything that you would like to attach to the pieces that you're doing. Like if there is a campfire, the campfire needs campfire sounds. It needs the particle effects and so on and so forth. But you still need like the actual campfire asset to be there. So in this blog post, they talk about how they got Unity to do that for them, taking an actual asset they export and bringing it straight into Unity, and Unity wires up everything. You don't need to touch the asset. And then it means what the artist sees is what the game developers see within the game engine itself, one-to-one, instantly. Now, how do they actually do that? It's actually very simple. Unity has an asset post processor. Whenever you import an asset, you can post process it. You can change how the asset would be before it's getting used. So on the moment of import, say make a circle into a square, or make all squares orange, or whatever you want.
Or add a collider to a mesh.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and for the record, Unity FBX format does support importing lights. It does support importing cameras too, if I recall.
I hate that too. Every now and then I import something that has a light and a camera on it, and it drives me completely insane. Not that I hate that it can do that. I hate when
Yeah.
that is actually exported on my models.
Yeah. So if you have proper exporting tools, which you can do on the Blender side, and you have somebody who's actually dedicated to working in a certain way, you can bring that all into Unity and it's working one-to-one as they expect it and see it in Blender. And because you have that asset post processor and you can do everything you want, sometimes you want to give more information to that asset post processor. So the FBX format, which is standard and not unique to Unity, you can also use it in Unreal, etc., etc., supports custom properties. So you can like give it a dictionary of any name and any value, and it will be able, and you will be able to read that information in the game engine of your choice and change the asset based on that. So they made a whole thing where they set the actual material type of the thing, the wall pieces, the floors, etc., and other properties. And based on those, it will link them back in Unity to the proper things. So if they have like a certain material type, it will use that material type for physics. If they have a prefab link key in the custom properties, it will actually link that to a prefab in the Unity project. And it's a very fascinating thing to look at. And I just wanted to bring it up because asset post processors are amazing. There's also another 2-piece blog post that I don't know if it's linked here, but if you can find it, it's a long blog post about how you can actually add asset labels, the thing in the Unity projects that nobody but Jason Story uses. And
Yeah.
it actually lets you post-process your assets from that, but just adding certain labels. So you can have like your asset auto labeling, and then with the labels and whatever custom properties it has, auto setting itself up for great success. And because the artists can see like what is going on in their actual app, they can change the walls, optimize them, do whatever they wish, and just click export, and it all goes into Unity. So that's the one part on the Unity side. That said, I want to also talk about the Blender side a bit if I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Blender is amazing recently. That's the first thing I should say. They recently got geometry nodes available, and geometry nodes are basically 3D vertex shaders that you can actually export out. So you can like actually process with a graph of like visual scripting your mesh to do whatever you wish, and then like have it ready. And you can do a ton of things with that. I've seen people making dynamic decals. I've seen people making like actual cloth wrapping around the character without like clipping into the character at all. I've seen like weight painting resolvers. It's insane. So with that in mind, Blender is also very Python friendly, and with Python, you can do like anything you want to the scenes in Blender, including exporting assets. So you can like literally have your own UI window that shows you all the assets that you can export, and you can like make a button that exports it in the way that you want. So you don't have to click the settings manually. It just recognizes which settings are the best for that model and does it instantly. You can have like an actual inspector for your custom properties for your project, so you can like have everything set up nicely and you don't have to manually type them. So they've also talked a small bit about doing that here, and I think there is a ton of value in that. I wish developers would stop giving themselves pain and doing everything within the Unity editor and just let the assets be purely designed for the project perfectly, because you can optimize a ton and you can make your life easier by not involving yourself in the process of like letting an artist design the level.
Yeah. I feel like that happens a lot more when you're working on an actual like AAA project or even a bigger indie project with a team that has some experience and maybe an art director or a tools developer, or at least somebody who's somewhat dedicated to the tools development side. Because, or I didn't mean art director, I meant a tech artist or a tech art lead, not our art director. Do something different. I said the
Okay,
wrong
they
word.
handle
A
a
lot
lot
of
of
people
tasks.
ask what they do, like this kind of jobs, exactly the kind of thing they do.
Yeah.
Make these decisions and then say to do these things, and then either build the tools or make the tools program or do it.
Yeah, I do think there is a lot of value in just having it in the asset itself, because that means something can't go wrong. Like the less things you do yourself, the less failure points there are. And that's something that I see a lot of developers having pains with. I actually had one of my own pains with that when I worked on prototype in Relogic in Unity. We had quite a bit of difficulty with importing sprites in a certain way that we like, because Unity's sprite importing process just wasn't up to what we needed. So we started like trying to look into dev tooling for that, but it was like a bit earlier than the current version right now that is a bit better about it.
There
But
used to be nothing for
great.
sprites. I remember before you had to put
Yeah.
in like a 3D object and attach a quad to it and move it around.
Yeah, so I'm just happy this is starting to like take precedence. They've had like 3 blog posts about that within 3 months, I think, and I'm super happy for that. Like, I want more of this. This is the good stuff in Unity, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, just wanted to bring it up. The 2 biggest things that ruin a developer's release schedule are difficulties, which lead to burnout, and lack of motivation because of the difficulties, which means more new projects and not actual finished ones.
You got to automate the crap out of this stuff. Andrew, do you automate any of this stuff in your import settings yet? Your pipeline? I mean, you're making assets, so I assume it's a little bit different, but I don't know if you have like a pipeline from like your artist to your asset packaging.
I have my some random pipelines that I do just for myself. But I will say I just started using a new animation outsource company basically, and it's going well. And they delivered animations that were all set up and I assume they did something along those lines that I didn't even know was possible. So in the past, as the example, animations would all be on the same FBX as the main character, and I would have to type in the frames and name them. These were already attached. And so for how many years has it been? 8 years I've been publishing on the asset store, something like that. I've been doing that manually. Now, moot point, because now I prefer them to be separate FBX files because Unreal prefers that. But I was pleasantly surprised when that popped up, and I was like, oh, I wonder how that happened and why I never knew about it. So, yeah.
Yeah. On that note, I actually have a deep hatred whenever I see like multiple animations within the same FBX file that usually includes the character mesh as well. So just to talk about this a bit, when you import an asset in Unity, a lot of developers don't care about how that asset got imported as long as it works, which usually results in gigantic files, wrong scales, wrong rotations, and worst of all, animations that you didn't ask for. So all this stuff, and also built-in textures. My beloved memory for the Unity editor and load times are not here anymore. They left the room as soon as that asset got into the project. So there are ways to customize how you export assets from your 3D authoring tools. And if you use those, you can actually reduce like 90% of the file size, increase the loading time, reduce the loading time necessary to get that asset in Unity, and actually have everything working without side effects. For, let's say, if you have 2 versions, one is the model and one is the animation, with the model, with the textures, and you accidentally move that into the scene, that animation with the model with the textures, it's suddenly not only the model anymore, and it's not using the same materials that you set on the model. There's because you duplicated the assets, you're creating more problems to yourself. Also, the Unity FBX importer actually lets you decide to not import materials and not import animations if you're not planning to do that. Use the checkboxes. They're there for a reason. Yeah, so on my end, I customized the hell out of that pipeline. I actually added some helper buttons on the Unity model importer window that show up to let me do these things with one click. Apparently, when they added addressables, they added a thing that lets you draw anything you want on top of the inspector. So I'm like, new buttons here, please, because there's no way to actually add that other way. So it's been really nice.
Well, I've got to get going in just a few minutes. I got visitors coming out and get us finished prepping up for the conference. Did you guys have any last second things to share? or mention or talk about? If not, I'm gonna just tell everybody to make sure to go grab your ticket for Game Dev Guild. We're gonna open the expo hall on Sunday morning, and the first talks start on Monday. There is a free pass option. I linked it up in the chat. You should be able to find that too for the first day if you want to come to that. It doesn't include the expo hall. The expo hall is like this somewhat pricey service that we have to pay for, and there's no way we could do that. It doesn't even fit the number of people that would go onto the free pass. Way, yeah, not even close. It would be overwhelming. It would be like being at a real GDC. But it's a very similar feeling, the virtual expo hall. I really love it. It's one of my favorite parts. So the sessions and like the useful info, but then the expo hall afterwards, because it's like a better version of Q&A. It's a lot like being in the like, I don't know about you guys. I love going to fucking conferences, and one of my favorite parts is right after the talks, going up and just talking to the speakers and have it, because then you can like have actual conversations where they're not, up there in front of people trying to talk on a microphone and answer a question and not say the wrong thing or anything. You're just actually having a chat with them about stuff, and it's kind of like a more informal 2 or maybe 5 or 10 way conversation, depending on how many people join into the chat. But it's a lot better experience, and I love that stuff. So that's probably one of my favorite parts. I got to say a special thanks to James for pointing out that system, by the way, because that's that we wouldn't have even known it existed. And also, yeah, let's make sure that everybody goes and grabs Geno Kids if they haven't already backed the Kickstarter. There's only a few days, 11 days left.
Yeah. Again, I wish them great success. I'm super hyped for this. I've been looking at it for a long time, and I'm like really happy to see how it finally came down. I'm also starting to see YouTubers playing the available demo, so yay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I want to grab it and try it out. I think I already backed it, but I didn't download it yet. I'm not logged in on this one. So I want to go try it out as soon as, probably right after the conference, once I have some downtime to actually play a few games and catch up on stuff.
Yeah, just good luck. Yay.
And it looks like Johnny is kicking off Ludum Dare stream in 6 hours, so make sure you go check that out. I'm sure I have Johnny's channel linked down below, so go join him and check that out. I might watch that tonight too.
If I'm not wrong, it's the one where he's comparing ECS with another version of ECS, which is very interesting.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah. So any last words, everybody, other than go grab these bundles?
I hope everybody has a fantastic upcoming week. The Game Developer Conference, Game Developer Guild is going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to meet a lot of old buddies from last year as well in there. And
yeah, me too. I think it's going to be a blast.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
John just said it's ECS versus Rust Bevy, so yeah, it's going to be fun.
Okay. Oh, I'm scheduled to see Johnny in 6 hours. Nice. I'm gonna schedule that up too. All right, everybody. Well, we will see you on. I guess I'll see you all on Sunday, and then again on Friday. Well, we won't have a show Friday because it would be running the conference live. Oh, one interesting thing on the conference. I'm not 100% sure, but I think we might stream part of the first day live to YouTube as well. Maybe like the first hour or 2 or 3. I'm not sure. Still trying to figure out the logistics of it, but figured it would be fun and give people another way to watch for at least the first bit. So cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll say goodbye, and I'm gonna go answer the door now. So,
Bye, everyone.
I just have to find the video that I was gonna click on first. There it is. Guild Conference is right around the corner, starting on May 1st. It's a 5-day conference that offers everything an in-person conference does. We have dozens of sessions on a variety of actionable topics you can use in your own projects. Many of the Game Dev Show experts will be there, along with tons of other speakers, like John Riccatello, the CEO of Unity, Rick from GameDev TV, Thomas Brush, Turbo Makes Games, Chris Lucian, Jabrils, and many more. We also have a full virtual expo hall for you to connect with and network with all the other attendees, speakers, and sponsors. In addition to our Pro Pass, which includes over $2,000 of free bonuses bonuses, and our student pass, which gives you access to all of the sessions. We've just announced a completely free one-day pass, which gives you access to all of the sessions on the first day. So go check it out, grab your free pass, and join us on May 1st by clicking the link in the description.